Shayura, Reed-7, and Aisha, a fireteam bounded by unity, betrayal, and tragedy. It all began back in old Chicago, hunting a mysterious creature when their light was taken by Ghaul. After that day, Shayura changed. She quickly fell into madness after losing her light, Sloane's choice to stay when the pyramids arrived, and hunting guardians who would wield darkness. Stories on this fireteam have been told since Season of the Hunt, and now in Season of the Deep we have updates in this fireteam and a death of one of the characters. Like we did in the Joxer video, let's recap a bit of this fireteam's backstory, then we'll get into the new lore this season. You can skip ahead if you'd like. The first lore on these characters came from Season of the Hunt, where we have some flavor text. I've studied the enemies of the light, and I don't know what lured us to that ruin in old Chicago and killed all those guardians, but I know it was hunting us. We tracked the thing all the way to the ruins of old Chicago down in the tombs. We weren't hunting it, it was luring us. This thing we were hunting, it was smart, scary smart. It trapped us in the tombs below old Chicago, picked off other fire teams one by one. Some creature was found in old Chicago, this fire team hunting it, or rather it hunting them. This was around the time of the Red War, so we don't have conclusive evidence on what this creature was, but the card came out in Season of the Hunt, so maybe it could be a Wrathborn creature. Regardless, this was the first time these guardians formed a fire team together from what we know. Reed-7, Aisha, and Shayura. Now we jump up to Season of the Arrivals. We learn throughout Shayura's story that she has a strong connection to Commander Sloane and looks up to her. So when Sloane decides to stay on Titan when the pyramids arrive, she got into an argument with her fire team. "We shouldn't just leave her behind," Shayura says into the void with a lightness in her throat. "Not our call, Shay. Agree or disagree, we're a united front." Aisha, her teammate, replies across the curvature of Mercury's atmosphere. "Then act like it," Shayura fires back, snapping her jaw shut as soon as the shout escapes her lips. She brings her hands to her mouth, regretting her tone, but not retracing it. "It's Sloane's choice." Aisha's voice sounds smooth in contrast. "You know how she is. If she's declining evac, there's no force in the system that'll uproot her. Stay, go, it's her choice." So I'm only reading parts of these cards, but Shayura and Aisha have an argument about Commander Sloane. Shayura is depressed that Sloane is deciding to stay behind and says that they have to get her out of there, but Aisha's like, no, Sloane's gonna do what she wants to do, she's staying on Titan. This depressed mood Shayura is in doesn't stop here though, it gets way worse. During a trials match, Shayura in her mind believes she is back on Titan fighting off waves of Hive, defending that home of Commander Sloane, when in fact she's in a trials match. She kills a Hive, but it begins to speak to her in a human voice. It turns out she was continuously beating a guardian to death in the trials. "I remember," Shayura finally replies, her own internal fears overlapping with memories of dark times that her fireteam experienced below the ruins of Chicago. "I never forgot how abandoned we felt," Shayura adds, a tightness in her throat. "The day Ghaul stole the light, when we were so far from home, when they went from hunters to hunted." It is in that moment of quiet revelation that the traveler stirs for the first time in years. A glow builds within, and only then does Shayura look up to her silent god. A wave of light washes over her, and it feels like absolution. While the city is awash in light, with the fearful and the faithful holding congress in the shadow of an indifferent god, Shayura slips away into the crowd. She does not need to witness the traveler's grandiose power to know what is being asked of her, and she does not need time to set herself to work. Shayura's path is clear. So after the events of that trials match, that tragedy, and even here when the traveler unleashes that new wave of light, Shayura feels like her path is clear, to destroy those who wield darkness. From the Pyrrhic Ascent boots, we see this story further. In another match, Shayura is about to kill a guardian who's using darkness, but as it's about to happen, Aisha, her fireteam member, turns on her, using stasis herself to freeze Shayura, and the Vanguard take her in. During the endless night, Shayura escapes and continues her rampage, killing members of House Light and several guardians on Venus. This would all lead to a pivotal moment in Witch Queen. The Hive enemies of darkness now wield the light, and Shayura ran into a Hive Lightbearer. Deep panic builds in her chest. This is no Hive death ritual. This is not Titan. She runs for the Knight's next swing and slips into the reach of Thrall that tear at her armor. Mustering the last of her solar energy, Shayura calls up a cyclonic pillar of flame that twists up into the sky and consumes the Knight. Not like this. The Revenant Knight collapses in the flames, and its ghost manifests again. Shayura leaps forward and drives her sword through, pinning the screaming ghost to the forest floor. Her solar aura flickers and fades. Smoke and steam billow from her back and shoulders. Not like this. Shayura's breath catches, her mind jostled. She feels the soft grass beneath her and sees the flower-dappled park that surrounds her, all sitting beneath the shadow of the traveler in the heart of the city. Her SMG lies in the ground at her side. Tears shine below exhausted eyes, dark hair in a tangle matted to her head. Aisha kneels in front of her friend, as one might before a wild animal. Reed-7 stands at her back in abject silence, hand over his mouth. City security fans out behind them, their weapons trained on Shayura. Aisha pleads this time. She gingerly places her hands on Shayura's cheeks and looks into her eyes, searching for a sign of recognition. Shayura eventually reaches up and touches one of Aisha's hands. She tries to talk, but her words are merely whimpers. Aisha wraps her arms around Shayura's shoulders and pulls her into an embrace. "It's going to be okay," Aisha whispers into Shayura's hair. "We're going to get you help," Aisha promises. Shayura does not trust herself or the world she thought she knew. Light is dark, dark is light. The lines have been blurred beyond recognition, but at least in surrender, there is peace. So, Shayura is crazy at this point. Vanguard investigators find piles of dead ghosts in her ship when they searched it. And in one of the last stories, Dr. Uzair visits Shayura back in the detention facility in the city. She is super depressed still and upset about the Traveler and how it may look down on humanity and the Guardians, and at that moment the doctor pulls out a different card, brings in her fire team to visit her. Reed-7 and Aisha would like to see you. Tears well in Shayura's eyes. Her voice of dissent evaporates. Shayura realizes there is one thing she can still have faith in: her family. This now brings us to the events of Season of the Deep. There are 3 lore cards that go along with this: Valiant Memory, Hero's Wake, and Unexpected Resurgence. The first card takes place during that Lightfall opening cinematic when Amanda Holliday and a fire team of Guardians is trying to battle the Witness. "Whatever that thing is, we gotta take it down." Amanda Holliday's voice crackles over the comms. Reed-7 glances at his ghost, then pulls up alongside Holliday's hawk and gives her a nod. He falls in behind her, with Shayura and Aisha following behind him in tight formation. Ahead, the beam of the light extending from the Traveler is brighter than the sun. Instrumentation goes wild in its presence. Astrogation systems don't know what to make of it and register the beam as a star. His ship tries to steer him away. Reed flips off autopilot. "Fly free, navs are down," he calls out to his fire team. "Flying free," Aisha replies over the comms. "We're right behind you, strike leader," Shayura affirms. Reed tightens his grip on the controls. "Holliday, take us in." "Block formation, let's give him the old razzle-dazzle," Holliday radios to the strike team. Reed-7 boosts ahead under the hawk and pulls up in front while Aisha and Shayura move to Holliday's flank. Reed activates manual targeting, reticle appearing on the widescreen. He tracks the shape held in the Traveler's beam, an impossible silhouette floating free in the void of space. The Witness is nothing more than a sliver of dark shearing through a field of white, but even at such a distance, Reed can feel its eyes on him. A chill jolts down his spine the moment the reticle locks on. His exomind throbs with the sense memory of a migraine. He immediately knows something is wrong. He turns to his ghost. His ghost looks at him, but it's already dead. The world separates into slices, and so is he. This above all else, I hold true. Shayura finishes her prayer but does not rise. Her kneeling position faces the sky where the traveler once hung over the last city. Morning sunlight fills the white space of her quarters with a warmth she does not feel. The light on her cheeks feels unwelcome, undeserved. Dr. Uzair will be expecting you, her ghost urges softly, giving her a gentle nudge on the shoulder. Shayura nods, struggling to keep her expression firm. She fails. Her jaw trembles and she scrapes tears from her eyes with the sides of her thumbs. Her ghost emits a soft, sad chirp before dematerializing to give her space. Her room is silent, but Shayura's thoughts buzz like a beehive, too many to focus on. Just a riotous noise of doubts and insecurities, shames and regrets. She slouches backwards off her knees, draws them up to her chest, and makes herself small against the unwelcome light of the sun. She does not want the universe to see her. She does not want to be seen. She does not want to be. Dr. Uzair will remind her it's survivor's guilt, but it is so much more than that. It is not justice. Shayura kneels in front of a gilded copper pot and the youngest bonsai rising from inside it. Tucked away in the soil are the vertically sliced fragments of a ghost. The tree grows up around them, and where the root and dirt meet, Shayura places a stick of lit incense. The bazaar is quiet as she lifts the freshly potted tree and places it on a low table overlooking the city the traveler once protected. "You are missed," Shayura whispers, brushing her fingertips against the soft branches. The remnants of Reed-7's ghost stare up at her. For a moment, she remembers seeing the cockpit of her jump ship littered with the ghosts of her victims, yet her ghost was spared the witness's wrath. Aisha's too, but this pain isn't about her. It is selfish. Shayura's heart lurches and she tries to center herself. "I exalt my fire team." "Is that a prayer?" a woman asks behind her. Shayura quickly turns and spots a stranger approaching between stalls. She carries a glaive like a walking staff. Its design matches the ornate pattern of her robes, familiar, Osirian. "Of sorts," Shayura answers belatedly. The robed woman bows, apologetic. "I ask for a moment of your time, Shayura." Hearing her name from the mouth of a stranger sets Shayura on edge. She glances at the memorial, then stands. "Please, leave me be." "My name is Sister Shayura," the robed woman continues. "Devotee of Osiris, seeker of truth, outcast." The last title earns a squint from Shayura. "What do you want, outcast Shayura?" Sister Shayura gestures to herself with one hand. "Only to offer you something that few others would, given your history." Shayura raises a brow in challenge. Shayura boldly meets it. "Friendship." So there we have this story of Shayura and her fire team up to this point in Season of the Deep. It's really incredible that stories like this began back in Season of the Hunt years ago and continue up to this point. Great story writing from Bungie both with this fire team and characters like Kel'Garath, and I hope that continues. Shayura has this crazy journey, fighting guardians who wield darkness, turning on her fire team, being reunited with them, calling them family, and then suffering the death of one of them there in Lightfall. We will likely see this character's story continue in the future, and let me know where you think it'll be heading in the comments below. If you'd like to see some more Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.